Bridgegate House is a Georgian property built around 1750. We know it was built at least earlier than 1757 because of a George II silver sixpence of this date found under a window seat. It is now a Grade 2 star listed building. For the last 20 years of its life, 90% of the property has been in such a bad state of repair as to be uninhabitable and indeed dangerous. A report by the Conservation Advisor to Chester City Council, Mr. Donald Insall, advised that Bridgegate House had serious defects and was in need of urgent action. This was published in 1968. The owners, faced with the problems of the building and a possible repairs notice, decided to sell. Sealed tender bids were invited along with the detailed proposals of development. The closing date was 12 noon, 30th of November 1983. The John Lilburn Restoration Company Limited is a small business recently set up to specifically tackle buildings of historic interest in Chester. Martin Milmore is a professional geologist and town planner. Richard Hodgkinson is a builder and for some years has specialised in conservation work. Elizabeth Meredith, a 3D designer, produces plans and sketches for the building work undertaken, along with Martin and Dick. On the 15th of December 1983, the John Lilburn Restoration Company were informed that their tender had been successful. Within 24 hours, the property was insured and emergency repair works carried out to secure the building against water penetration. Ideas and plans were finalised before listed building consent and planning permission was sought.
Is unused space, basically, and to have the staircase in here would be better than having it in the other room.
Sure. Well,
Although they were aware of the large task before them, it was only when the company were able to remove the plaster from walls and dry linings that the full enormity of the task was revealed. Bridgegate House has been subsiding into a backfilled Roman quarry and has gone down in the region of 6 inches at the rear of the property and is now heavily propped. Major structural repairs would be necessary to halt any further subsidence. This is the rear of the building, second floor, and there's serious subsidence in this particular area. In fact, this is probably the worst area of subsidence in the property. And take these down. Let's have a look and see what's behind it. It's a fallen lintel, large 3-4 inch cracks in the wall right through to the outside. But this particular area of the wall is vertical, which is a good hopeful sign. And of course the window frame itself is twisted. This might indicate that either the window itself has been straightened at some time in the past, or that it's only the inner skins of the building, the inner brick skins of the building, which have in fact been distorted, and the exterior is less distorted. I'm in the top floor of the building now, 4 stories up, and this is a Georgian bedroom in a pretty dilapidated state. We look as if we've got a fair bit of woodworm. Yes, definitely bad woodworm. The window here at the top shows similar sort of subsidence to the floor below, but to a lesser degree, thank goodness. And obviously this subsidence and the cracks continue up into the roof space. This whole window space here is going to be re-bricked, so we'll have to remove both the bricks below the window, those above, and completely fill the void. This is the top floor of the building again, and this is one of the main beams supporting that top floor. There are some clear cracks in the beam, and it's gone down about 2 inches. Let's have a look. Very big cracks on this side of the beam, nearly ½ an inch wide, in fact an inch wide, and that beam is going to have to be replaced with either a timber beam or an eye girder. The barrel-arched cellar structure in the building was in a serious state and propped with acrows. It was clear from the start that this would have to be removed. After the barrel vault was demolished, the extent of structural damage to the rear wall could be sensibly assessed. Our consultant structural engineers developed a 4-phase programme for underpinning the building, and we began to dig. We're now 8 feet 9 inches or so below the cellar floor and about 18 feet, 19 feet below ground level. And we've dug effectively into a Roman quarry. And this sandstone here that I'm standing on is the face of the quarry, the last face of the quarry. And the quarry effectively goes into the property in this direction and has been backfilled with Roman waste. And as we've dug down through this Roman waste, we've found all sorts of pieces of pottery, some Samian ware, some pieces of Roman leather, extremely well preserved, bits of metal and some lead and so on. In fact, we've had buckets full of pottery out of this particular hole. We've dug down to bedrock. We've put in 6 acrows to support the 1 metre or so solid sandstone foundations, which were effectively put onto a Roman tip. And because this particular tip is very, very soft and rather sort of poor, squidgy material, it's got no support whatsoever for the foundation, and the whole of the building has gone down on this. So we've dug this out. We're going to pour mass concrete into this void space, which will surround all these acrows. We'll come up to the sandstone blocks at this point. We've dug a hole out of the building on the other side so that as the concrete comes up to this particular level, there won't be any void spaces trapped, any air trapped as the concrete is vibrated. And in fact, we'll allow the concrete to flow up this hole about 2 or 3 feet, and then we'll also put concrete in from the top of this hole and create effectively a sort of head of concrete to absolutely remove any void spaces. And then we'll continue to also put concrete in from within the cellar itself and take that up to about 1 foot from the cellar floor. So the whole of this void space will then be a mass of solid concrete supporting the base of the building straight down to bedrock, and it will be absolutely solid and have total integrity. This is the second of the trenches that we've dug for the underpinning project. On this particular occasion we found that the sandstone at the bottom of the quarry was somewhat higher than in the first trench that we dug, but nevertheless we still found that the solid sandstone blocks, which are the basic foundation of the building, were sitting on Roman backfill material. It was rather ironic, in fact. We've dug 1 metre underneath these sandstone blocks, but we found in fact that there was only about 6 inches of material between bedrock and the sandstone foundation blocks. We found that that itself couldn't be readily propped, nor could it be readily dug 1 metre through the building. So we've had to take out a group of sandstone blocks, foundation blocks here, to allow us to put small acro props, in fact these are pit props, in underneath the sandstone to secure the remainder of the building and to allow us to put our mass concrete foundations in. We have here 3 concrete needles. This is one of the concrete needles which goes right underneath the inner wall of the building. It's a reinforced concrete needle about 1'6" by 1'6". Below that is mass concrete right down to solid bedrock, and there are 3 of these needles supporting this inner wall. That's stopping it going down vertically. and has stabilised the internal section of the building. To meet fire regulations for the mixed uses within the building, we designed a 4-storey Georgian-style stair tower. This tower will serve as both access for the top floor flat and secondary fire escape routes for the office suites. In addition, it creates a buttress against the rear wall of the main building. Replacement keystones and sills are either from architectural salvage sources or made on site from original sandstone blocks. At the rear of the property, previously connected by a corridor, is a separate dwelling which has been used as residential accommodation in the past. We designed the restoration of this element to return it back to residential use. We found water flowing down a sandstone quarry face behind the inner brick leaf. Later we traced precisely where this water was going. We've grubbed up all the floors and laid new concrete here, and in doing so we discovered a 30-foot well about 5 foot in diameter, and we've decided to utilise that space. Instead of simply blocking off the well, we're going to convert it into a wine cellar with 2 floors within that particular well and a steel staircase down into it. Behind the inner skin brick wall we discovered a small niche carved into the sandstone quarry face, which at one time must have had a grille covering it, an altar to a Roman water goddess perhaps. The original design of windows were stiff and drafty, made worse by later modification. New box frame windows were manufactured on site, incorporating special draft proofing and improved sliding actions, but including all original mouldings and glazing bar features. The John Lilburn Restoration Company has attempted wherever possible to obtain pieces of architectural salvage to suit the building. The stone griffins are destined for the cellar restaurant. This is the barley twist cast iron downpipe which we've decided to put on the front elevation of the stair tower. And the wings which hold the downpipe on have got a very deep countersunk section. Normally if we'd put a raw bolt into that, it may have caused sufficient stress on the cast iron to crack it. So we designed a specially shaped little lead cone-shaped washer to distribute the strain. And that is placed on the raw bolt. And in we go. Cone which fits very neatly into the countersunk section, washer on top of it, and in it goes. This is the rear wall of the rear residential property of Bridgegate House. And we've cut a number of holes in this wall to lead through to the cavity at the back of this 1.5 brick-thick wall. Behind that cavity will be a 6-inch block wall, and we want the cavity to be well ventilated. So with a number of ventilation holes in this wall here. We cut them this size, but then we discovered some rather nice ventilator blocks in Liverpool, which we decided that we'd put in to improve the look of the wall. We've put some anti-vermin trap material on the rear. We'll cut the hole somewhat larger, place these in, and have a rather nice ventilator block, which will be an added feature to a fairly blank brick wall otherwise. Initially, the roof seemed reasonably sound, but on close inspection it was clear that the whole lot would have to be felted and reslated. Velux lights were able to be incorporated, and at the same time this facilitated treating all roof timbers against rot and infestation. The lead valleys were paper thin, and after sending one of the workforce on a crash course in lead burning techniques, they were all replaced. The tatty and inadequate main stairwell window was replaced by a fine Georgian-style roof garden. A newly constructed flying footpath provided access to the first floor of the rear building. Not only the exterior of the rear fire escape, but the interior too was constructed in a style appropriate to the building's Grade 2 star listing. The staircase was specifically designed to allow for the addition of an Edwardian lift at a later date. 2 5/8" reclaimed Georgian bricks were used throughout the reconstruction to match original. The cellar restaurant, with its fine sandstone wall features, was fully restored, ready now for its final fitting out to clients' requirements. A decent ventilator grill for the cellar restaurant couldn't be found, so one was specifically cast for the job. The sunburst feature over the front entrance was mirrored in all new arched window frames throughout the building. The whole of the cobbled area fronting the property, damaged by skips, concrete pumps and materials, was fully restored. Bridgegate House and its Georgian terrace setting is now an important attraction to tourists interested in the built character of Chester. The whole project was supported by grant aid from Chester City Council and English Heritage. Without this grant aid, the project would simply not have got off the ground. Following 2.5 years of hard work, a lot of fret and worry, Bridgegate House has now been restored to its former glory.